It was a quiet evening in the town of Fairhollow, the kind of small town where nothing ever really happens until it does. At precisely 5:12 p.m., on a Friday like any other, 17-year-old Ellie Granger became the last student to leave Fairhollow High. She texted her mom saying she was on her way. That text was never followed by a knock at the door. She never made it home. What happened on that walk from the school to her house has become a whispered tale among students and parents alike. Some say she ran away. Others believe something far more sinister was at play. But what no one talks about, what everyone chooses to ignore, is the old road that cuts behind the woods. The one the school buses no longer use. The one that doesn't show up on any map. And that's where Ellie was last seen. Ellie wasn't supposed to stay that late. But between makeup rehearsals for the fall play and waiting on her brother to pick her up, which he forgot as usual, time slipped past her unnoticed. When she finally glanced at the hallway clock, it was already dark outside. The building had emptied out without her realizing it. The janitor, Mr. Behrens, gave her a stiff nod as she walked toward the exit. "You sure you got a way home?" he asked, mop in hand, pausing mid-swipe. Ellie smiled, trying not to show the unease growing in her chest. "I'll walk. It's not far." Mr. Behrens squinted at her, like he wanted to say something else, but instead he just grunted and turned back to his mopping. The air outside had that heavy, static-laced stillness that comes just before a storm. The sky above was bruised purple, clouds crawling over the moon like a predator in wait. She started down Ashburn Lane, the usual route home, earbuds in, listening to one of those crime podcasts she secretly loved, despite the nightmares they gave her. But halfway down the street, her phone buzzed. Dead. Just like that. Full charge that morning. No explanation. No warning. Just black. Annoyed, she shoved it into her backpack and kept walking. The lamplights flickered behind her like they were blinking out one by one. Then came the footsteps. At first, they mirrored her own, synchronized perfectly like an echo. She paused. Silence. She walked again. The sound resumed, just a half step behind. "Hello?" she called out, turning quickly. No one. Just the gentle sway of tree branches and the distant hum of traffic that felt miles away now. She picked up her pace. That's when she saw it. The signpost at the intersection that shouldn't exist. Old Mill Road. She had walked this path dozens of times. There was no Old Mill Road. She would have remembered. But there it was, bolted crookedly into the ground, its wooden letters weathered and cracked. The path it marked was overgrown and unlit, curving off into the trees. She should have kept going. She should have ignored it. But something about it pulled at her, like a string wrapped around her spine, tugging gently but persistently. She stepped toward it. "Ellie!" She turned. It was Theo, a senior she barely knew. He played drums in the school band and barely spoke 2 words in class. He looked pale, sweaty. His eyes were darting around like he was being followed. "You can't go down that road," he said, out of breath. "What are you talking about?" she asked, trying to mask her rising fear. I tried last year. On a dare. I didn't even get halfway before I saw something. Heard something. I've been sick ever since. Dreams. Visions. And every time I walk past this place, it's like it calls to me." Ellie took a step back. "Okay. I'm just going home." But when she turned, Ashburn Lane was gone. Gone. In its place was a wall of trees, thicker than they had any right to be, as if they'd grown in seconds. There was no street, no sidewalk. Just the black maw of forest. She spun back to Theo, but he was already running, vanishing down Old Mill Road like something was chasing him. Alone now, Ellie felt the air shift. No birds. No wind. Just the distant sound of a bell. A school bell. Faint. Echoing. She followed it. The road wound deeper than it should have. She walked for what felt like an hour, yet the sky above never changed. It stayed locked in that twilight glow. Her shoes crunched over gravel that didn't match the streets of Fairhollow. Every few feet, she passed old telephone poles, but none of them had wires. Then she saw the bus, half sunk in a ditch, rusted and split open like a gutted animal. It was a school bus, but not from Fair Hollow High. The logo on the side read, Mill Creek Academy. She stepped closer. Inside, the seats were torn. The floor was littered with notebooks, backpacks, and something else. Something that made her throat tighten. A small handprint smeared in blood. Then the voices started. At first it sounded like kids playing, laughing, running, but as it grew louder, the laughter turned into sobs, screams, and somewhere in the distance, a song played on loop, like a music box wound too tightly. Musical note, ring around the rosy. Musical note. She turned and ran. Branches clawed at her arms. Her breaths came in gasps, loud and ragged in the oppressive quiet. She stopped when she saw the figure, standing in the middle of the road. A tall, thin man in a teacher's coat, his face obscured by shadow. He held a clipboard in one hand and a ruler in the other. Behind him, children, dozens of them, all in faded school uniforms, pale, eyes hollow, silent. He pointed the ruler at Ellie. "You're late," he said, voice crackling like a broken speaker. Ellie backed away, stumbling, trying to scream, but no sound came out. The children took a step forward. Ellie turned and ran blindly, her mind a blur of panic and disbelief. She didn't know how long she ran, only that the voices and footsteps behind her never seemed to fade. The deeper she went, the less the world made sense. Time stretched, space warped. The rules of everything she knew were falling apart. But one thing was certain. Old Mill Road had claimed others before her. And now it had her.